Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Soul Diving Sunday show featuring transformational life coach Shelley Wizen and your hosts Lisa and Nancy. Welcome everyone. It is April, which means spring is really here, but it is Stress Awareness Month. It is the month of hope. And April 6th coming up is Good Deeds Day. And that's what we're talking about today with Shelley, Shelley Wizen. Go to shelleywizen.com. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. I'm good. Yeah.
Don't you love the spring?
Yes, and it's warm. It's warm in California. Yesterday was, I think, 93 where I am.
Wow.
Wild. The day before it was like 60 something.
The weather has been wonky, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It happens. It happens. But spring is one of those fluctuating, like you think it's sunshine, all of a sudden it'll snow on you.
Yes.
It can
Yes,
happen. But
that's
I
right.
think spring does have a sense of hope because
Yeah.
it reminds us of renewal and rebirth. Because sometimes in winter, it's like, is this ever going to end? And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, a little flower pops out when the sunshine, and you go, oh, yeah. So I think it's got a little hope to it. What do you
Yeah, I
think?
had a little orchid that bloomed and it's just been green for a very long time, for like years. Didn't have any more blooms on it, but I like the leaves of the orchid and I
Hmm.
like the stem of the orchid, so I keep it and I water it and stuff. And just, I don't know, a few weeks ago, all of a sudden there was a baby. I looked on the stem and I went, "Oh, I think that's going to be a baby." And it came out and it was a little baby orchid.
Oh, that's cute. Was
I
it around February, March? Yeah, because
uh-huh.
that's
March.
their
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That's their time. Yep. They're the flower of the gods.
Yeah, oh, they are. I
They're
love
about
it.
love
I
and they're erotic. Did
Ooh,
I say that?
yes, you did.
Exotic and erotic. Well, they are like the orchid of the love gods or something like that.
Huh. I'll have
Well,
to,
it's spring. We get to talk like this, can't we?
yes, absolutely, because things are in bloom, you plant seeds, they grow. I mean, all kinds of things.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that planting seeds. You've got a great article, everyone. It's linked in the episode notes. It's also featured on blendradioandtv.com. You talk about planting seeds of hope because it's basic, isn't it? Kind of like we can't just hope, we have to do something.
Right. That's right. So, and it's also we're talking about stress. Stress is that silent saboteur. I mean, I talk about that in the article. And what it does is it kind of creeps up on us and we don't even realize
Mm-hmm.
how much it erodes our health because we're so busy in the stress and we're
Mm-hmm.
so busy um, putting out fires and but it damages. It's kind of like a wave of or tornadoes. I mean, all those tornadoes are like a stress factory.
Yeah.
And if you're in the center of a tornado, it's the eye of the storm. But if you're the minute you point your finger out on some level, you're in the tornado. So that
Mm-hmm.
stress factor is throwing you around. And once we get caught up in our lives in a particular way, we are in the stress and the stress is in us. So it's
Mm.
almost like we can't separate it until we're either sick or we have symptoms of stress. And the way through stress sometimes is through action.
Mm.
And that's how it gets us out of that stress mode because stress is like a what do I want to say? It's
It's like a cycle, man. It just keeps.
definitely a cycle and it's a cause and effect type of thing. But
Mm.
when we're in it, sometimes we don't realize it because we're spinning.
Mm.
We spin out.
And you can get crabby and you know
Yes.
we don't want
Yes.
crabbies. Now, with
No,
the stress, as a transformational life coach, how many times do you think people like I know people who it's like, oh, I'm putting out fires, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and it's almost like a badge of I don't know. It's kind of like it's hard to I mean, do you see that happen with people where they're so
oh,
caught up in actually creating the stress?
right. But they don't see that they're creating it. They're seeing that they're an effect of it from somebody outside of them. So it's an outside in way of living. And so then they get to point the finger, and you know what I feel about that finger and having finger pointyitis is you point that finger out and blame other people for your sense of well-being. And then what are we doing? We're using this, it's one of my favorite symbols, the remote control that we give to other people or other circumstances for our sense of well-being. And then if we lack a sense of well-being, we get to blame somebody else, but we're actually handing this to them and saying, okay, I'm going to live according to your stress level. And then you
Mm,
can do whatever you want, pound the buttons, and you know where my triggers are. And then you let them send you off in a stressful way. And then when we're in it, we're not even thinking that we're
mhm,
in it. And sometimes we're putting
mm,
out fires and stuff like that, but it actually threatens to consume us, and we don't even
uh-huh.
realize it.
Well, I've got a good example.
Oh,
I used the remote control recently, and I thought of you as I did it. I probably did a little too strong because I probably should have done it a long time ago. So we are, I think a lot of people are going through this right now, and I'm definitely not alone. I know that. Um, we all have people in our lives who are intensely political
mm,
and want to push their agenda and ask you questions and try to answer the question, and no matter what, you're being attacked. And and eventually it's just not fun, and you don't want to be around this so-called friend anymore, even when you say, please, can we not do that right now? Can we just talk about some fun stuff? And it gets ignored, and it gets that steamroll. And so that recently happened, and it was in a day that I could have used some cheering up because a friend had passed away. I had been
mm,
up 48 hours working nonstop on a deadline. A friend passes away. I'm in tears, but then I'm like, all right, everything's gone. My deadline's passed. It's all worked out. And she had texted, and I thought, yeah, we can have some fun because last time it wasn't bad. And she starts, and I just told her this had happened. No, oh, I'm sorry you've lost a friend or anything. And it continued on to a point of like, I could feel my blood pressure
mhm,
here. And then it started to get erratic. Like, I'm now done. And and you know what? She turned around and blamed me for everything that's going on in the country, and Nancy, and blamed us and our supposed political party, which we are not, and she knows that. And so I hung up. And as I did that, I went, and I pushed the remote control. And you know what? It's one of the best things I've ever done because it wasn't like I didn't warn her numerous times throughout the years. And then all of a sudden one day I just went, this is not serving us. So was that good to do?
well, what was good about it for me, I mean, good, bad, whatever, that's kind of a
Mhm.
judgment call, but what
No
was
should haves.
healthy, right, exactly. What was healthy for you is you created a boundary, a solid
Mhm,
boundary, and just said, I'm not going to accept this anymore, this kind of treatment or this kind
mhm,
of feedback that you're giving me that isn't helpful and it isn't kind.
mm-mm,
So I'm just not going to accept that any longer. So when you press the remote control and you turn them off
mhm,
by hanging up, what you're doing is creating a healthy boundary for yourself. So you're not letting her stress enter you so that you become stressed
mhm,
because of her stress. And then you get to blame her for you spinning out because she is stressed out and
mhm.
not healthy, and then you plug into it. That's what I mean
See,
about pointing the finger out, and then that tornado, we're
mhm.
part of it then. We're part of the cows that are going around and the houses that are
Oh,
going.
we playing Twister.
Exactly.
I don't want to do that. Like, I just went, this is not serving
It's
us.
right. For
And it's,
if you ask yourself the highest and greatest good, if this is for the highest and greatest good, and if this is kind, then okay. If what she's saying is kind, okay. But if it's not, and it's not for the highest and greatest good, and it's just to badger or it's just to drill a point across for ego's sake, then no.
Oh, it definitely, and it was, and anyway, but it was nasty. I just got to this point of being
Understandable.
tired. I think there's a because you put boundaries up, and you've written an article about that, the importance of
Yeah,
putting up boundaries, and if
yeah,
people don't respect them, and you've told them in so many different ways, and eventually you just go, just go home. I'm going home. I don't want to deal with it.
taking my ball and I'm going to go home.
Yeah, I don't want it, and I think I don't believe I am the only one going through this. I know families are.
Yeah,
So the stress level, it's like other people getting riled up, you don't need to take it on yourself, you know. You
right,
can have those boundaries. So and turn around and do something positive
right,
versus that. And that's what I like about yours. It's action. That's what I've always loved about what you do is you've got to have a this is what you do in
right,
replacement,
right.
you know?
Yeah, because action mitigates internal silence, but the internal silence isn't silent. It isn't really a room of silence. I have a friend, Diana, who I've mentioned before and who channels Merlin. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
meditations that he was imparting is that when you go into a room of silence, there's a lot of activity in that room. But if
Mm-hmm.
you listen to the silence and you allow yourself to be quiet to listen to the silence, then it's really a room of knowing. It's your
Mm-hmm.
room of knowing. It's when we're all busy and the chatter's going on in our brain. And, Don Miguel calls it the monkey mind, or, all different
Mm-hmm.
traditions call it the monkey mind. When it's so active, there's a lot of chatter going on. It creates more stress. There's
Mm-hmm.
place within to have that room of silence.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the ways to do it, and in the article, I've listed 5 different ways
Mm-hmm.
you can reduce stress and plant seeds, so to speak, but they're not necessarily gardening, but that's definitely one of them.
Gardening school.
You know, go into the garden and plant a seed and
Mm-hmm.
do something, because the earth, when you start engaging with the elements, that's one of the other meditations we've been doing lately, is focusing on an element at a time every day, and not just look at the element
Mm-hmm.
itself, but how is the element perceiving you?
Oh, yeah.
How is a tree, you walk by a tree. I mean, when you think about nature and you think about the relationship we have with nature, a tree just stands there. It's not running around like we are, but it's giving off this beauty. It's
Mm-hmm.
giving off this strength. It's giving off this nature's way of being grand,
Mm-hmm.
you
And
know,
they're grounding.
and totally grounding.
Mm-hmm.
The earth is one way. So planting a seed in the earth and getting your fingers in the earth and feeling the earth in your fingers and in your hands is a great grounding way,
Mm-hmm.
reducing stress.
Mm.
Planting a flower, watering your plants. I mean, that's another thing. So now you've got earth and water.
Oh, I
That
like that.
two elements that you're combining. So it connects us, it grounds us, that whole movement of earthing, grounding
Yeah.
yourself and walking barefoot on the earth, instant instantly grounds you. It pulls you and it changes your electrical rhythm. So grounding with nature is a beautiful way of planting a seed. And you could even do something in your windowsill,
I like that.
something small. It doesn't have to be, I mean, I live in an apartment, so I don't have land around me, but
Mm.
I love my plants
Mm-hmm.
and I love to water them. I love to talk to them. I love to have a relationship with them. I say hi to them every day. You
You
know,
talk to the orchid.
I talk to the orchid. I'm going, oh, you baby orchid, you're so cute. I mean,
That's
it was
awesome.
a tiny little bud, like an embryo, and then it just popped and it was
Well, and that's a thing. It's like when you talk about planting seed, you are planting hope and you're putting action behind hope. It's not like I'm just going to sit here and go, I really hope a tree grows.
right.
you know, rather go and try and plant something. And if it doesn't go, then you go, okay, let me put three, in that
Right.
pot or whatever it
Maybe
is.
I need to put some
Mm-hmm,
nourishment into the earth. Maybe I
mm-hmm,
need a different kind of soil that
mm-hmm,
has more rich elements in order for that seed to grow. Maybe I didn't plant it properly or whatever the case may be. But planting is one beautiful way of de-stressing.
mm-hmm,
And the hope is an interesting concept because, like you said, if you just sit there and hope for something, it's not going to do anything. But
mm-hmm,
when you take an action,
mm-hmm.
makes hope transform into faith.
Mm, that's cool. Yeah.
Hope is some wishy-washy thing. I had a relationship for a long time. I was married for a long time, and I had a terrible equation in that relationship. 90% hope
Mm.
and 10% doubt
Ooh.
that it would change. Now, we can't live on
Mm-mm.
hope alone. Hope, and we can't change anything outside of us. All we can change is within us.
See, but that's like me turning, the phone off. It's
That's
like
right.
I gave it everything and it didn't change. And the
Right.
little, okay, so when people tell you something who they are, listen to that.
Right.
But
That's
yeah,
exactly right.
the other part I love about this, and I also want to get into the baking. What
Mm-hmm.
do you bring to the table? See, it's that
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thought, right? What are you bringing? It goes to, we've talked about this a lot about giving and receiving. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I really love about this article and this conversation is you've got to give to sometimes, giving, you feel better when you're giving. If you're feeling down, go do something for somebody else and you will feel 100 times better and
Yeah.
even better than the person who received, right?
Yeah, yeah. And baking, when we talk about baking or cooking, is when you bake something sweet for someone else, you're already thinking about that person or
Mm,
cooking for that person. You're thinking about that person. So the attention is off of yourself. If you were stressed out about something or something's upsetting you, when you start thinking about doing something nice for somebody else, it changes the energy and it changes
hmm.
the frequency of what it is we're
It's
doing. And
exciting
it's so exciting
and
and
it's happy.
it's happy, it's meditative, and usually, I would say usually whatever it is you're baking or cooking comes out pretty yummy, delicious.
It is cool because it's kind of like a conspiracy, like in a happy conspiracy. Like,
That's right.
I'm going to make these, chocolate chip cookies because I know my friend really loves them. And then
Mhm.
go, oh, I know that she really likes white chocolate too. Oh, maybe I'll add some macadamia nuts because I heard that she really loves that. So you
Right.
kind of have this like delicious storm.
Yeah.
I like that. I like this. The baking
Yeah.
part is good. Baking
Yeah.
is always good, right?
Baking and cooking always de-stresses me. It's always meditative for me. If I know someone's sick, like a friend
Mm-hmm.
of mine recently had open heart surgery,
Oh,
I woke up in the morning, I was dreaming about this or envisioning it in my head that I'm going to make the most yummy, delicious soup for
mm,
her. And I imagined all the things I had in my pantry and I pictured everything I had in my refrigerator, all the different vegetables. And I went, oh, yeah, I'm going to put that and that and that and that and that and that in the soup. And
mm-hmm.
it's going to just come out yummy, delicious. And it did. And she said it was the best soup she ever had. So I have
Oh,
a big pot, and then I have
mm-hmm.
these containers, and I fill the containers and I put them in the freezer most of the
Mm-hmm.
time, and then get to give them away, which I
That's nice.
and so it's a gesture that when we take the attention off ourselves and when we're stressed out about something, it usually diminishes the stress. It makes
Mm-hmm.
the stress less because we're not focusing on ourselves, we're focusing on somebody else.
Mm.
It's the
But you're
joy,
helping yourself too, and you're breaking the cycle. It's that pattern interrupt, from
right?
that whole twirly whirly thing. And it's kind of like, yeah, I better step off for a side and take a breather, right? But by doing it for someone else, it's a little different.
Yeah.
The other part that you were talking about is to write a note of gratitude or encouragement. Okay, so would this be to somebody else that, yeah, that's nice. It's like call a good friend, the ones that don't do what they did to me. I said a good friend, call a good friend that's,
Right.
and tell them how awesome they are.
Yes, exactly. So I have a friend who's dying, and I went to see him today, and
Mm,
I've known him since I was 17 years old. And so I just heard yesterday that his son texted me that he was in the hospital dying, and I just had to go see him. And I just knew I didn't know what state he was going to be in, whether he was going to be conscious or whether anything. I
mm,
didn't know anything. And when I got there, he looked pretty close to whatever is going to happen in the next few days. And he was sleeping, and his mouth was open, and I just I held his hand and said gently, Stuart, and he opened up his eyes, and he couldn't speak because he's got fluid in his lungs, so
mm,
he can't utter words, and he can barely mouth them.
mm,
So, but I could see the twinkle in his
mm,
eyes when he saw me. I haven't seen him in quite some time, but there was this connection. So when you do something for somebody else,
mm,
and I just told him how grateful I am for him being in my life and how much of an impact he's had on my life and how
mm.
much I love him. And he was mouthing, you could see
Aw,
that, and he couldn't utter, there's no sound coming out of
but you feel it.
it. And he was holding my hand, and
Aw,
it was such a tender moment. And so whatever was going on with me, even if something was going on with me, it didn't matter.
mm,
Then it's not about you in that moment.
mm.
It's about
That's
the
nice.
other person.
Mm,
Tell somebody you're grateful for them. It's about them,
mm,
not about you.
mm,
And that's something just to remember, especially when someone's sick
mm,
or somebody is dying. It's not about you, it's about them.
mm-hmm.
And when you
Exactly.
make it about them, it it uplifts the energy, and they feel it. The genuine authenticity of your feelings for them is are
Mm-hmm.
felt,
Yeah.
not hollow. It's not empty.
Mm.
And I feel so grateful that he was able to get that from me today.
That's awesome.
And it
That's
happened right
awesome.
before this podcast, so I'm a little,
I'm sorry. I know you're gonna make me cry because of our friend who just went, and
yeah.
I was gonna dedicate a recent magazine to him and put a playlist of he's a music guy that I work with, and I still think he's here, but he's like I talk to him probably every 2 days, 2 to 3 days.
Uh-huh.
So for over 10 years. So it's kind of
Um,
that's rough, and every you go in your email and then, so I went to, and we did a special podcast that included him and dedicated it to him, and
oh,
um, with another friend, how I met through him, and I went to do a playlist of all these musicians that have been on the show. That I'll make a nice playlist, and then I'm like, dude, it's almost 1,000 shows. Like that's impossible. But that's insane. So we got together, Joey and we talked about him and the beauty, and I was like, look how many people he touched. And I was talking about that, you know, one of us, alone, there's this saying, alone we're a drop in the ocean, together we are the ocean. And he was like the glue that connected, he was the web of life.
hmm.
So many people benefited from his authentic dedication to the craft and beauty of music.
Right.
And
Wow.
so we were just like there it's like you can't redo what he did by making a playlist, but it is just amazing. We were just really both sitting like how one person can positively affect thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, from what their work is and their authenticity, integrity, and kindness. Kindness is everything. It
Everything.
is absolutely and I think stress takes it is like the devil when it comes to kindness it's like the, anti part. It's like stress is an active word, and
It
kindness is,
was.
is an active word, and you can make that choice. And so many times stress becomes this like a nuclear war kind of thing. It becomes nasty. It's the opposite of kindness. It's not kind to yourself or to others, and it can explode into a place of you don't want, that you didn't mean.
Right.
That's
It
where
escalates.
stress is.
Escalates, yeah.
Stress is
Because
not good.
we're
Stress is
already,
good to save your butt, you
yeah.
know, like, hey, oh my gosh, there's someone coming running after me. I got stressed to get going. And you get your adrenaline going. And no, you don't want someone to come after you. That's real stress. But the
Yes.
rest of it, there's some real stress in life. But
Yeah.
um, I
Yeah.
like the idea of turning it around to kindness and doing something that you can see every day, like the planting, the cooking. There was a result from that, and so long as you enjoy doing it too, right? So I love the letters of gratitude.
When my daughter was in school, I used to put little notes in her lunchbox every day,
That's
just letting
nice.
her know I love her and have a beautiful day and how grateful I am that she's my daughter.
Yeah, the gratitude part to me is really cool to be able to do that. And another way, personally, is to do things like let people know when you're thinking of them. If you see something about them, it's like, oh, let me cheer someone up by, hey, I saw this and thought of you. You know,
It's amazing how far that gesture goes.
it's little.
Yes. I have a friend who's a beautiful woman. She's a death midwife as well. And she's created a school called Sacred Crossings. Beautiful woman.
Mm,
And, every now and then we think of each other. She's very busy. I'm very busy. But when I think of her and call her out of the blue, just say, I'm thinking of you, it means so much. And when somebody does that for me, it really does
hmm
mean a lot.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
take that for granted.
those little things you don't know when you're sending something that they really needed it. Or
Yes.
and you're feeling good because it's like, oh, I took time out for somebody I care. And I,
Yeah.
I wanted to just touch on your letters of gratitude
Hmm.
and how it changes you from going thinking about yourself to others, which benefits yourself.
Hmm.
So in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, when someone's first going through the people have to go around and apologize, right? And it's like gratitude and apology going around to people, and they write those letters. And except for like the one on Seinfeld. Do you remember that episode on Seinfeld? And Jerry got a letter, and Elaine got a letter from a friend, but the guy didn't do it for George, and he's like, "I want my letter."
Right,
He
right.
never got his letter. So, but I have a lot of friends who've gone through that AA and done those kinds of letters, and it's a way of it's not like to move forward past guilt, but also to have gratitude and take it off of yourself, because alcoholism can be very self-centered because you're hurting people. And it's not, you don't mean it to be. An addict is in a place where they need help, and it's, I people say it's a disease, or that's a whole other conversation. But moving forward and past that can be very scary and hard. And you've been satisfying whatever the addiction wants you to do, which is this false self, right? But writing a letter of apology and gratitude is that way of rectifying. It's not going to fix everything, but it is, I don't know, I feel like it's very similar to what you're talking about. It's
Yeah,
like taking control in a positive way by a
right.
nice action.
Yeah, it's taking a nice action is exactly what it is. And again, it's not about you, it's about the other person. It's about what you can bring to them.
Mm,
And I talk a lot about that in my book, What Do You Bring to the
mm-hmm.
Table? Because the whole
Yeah.
point is what are we bringing into our own lives? What
Mm,
do we bring? And how are we taking responsibility for what we're bringing? It's
mm-hmm.
not just what we're getting, and it's equally as important to know how to receive as it is to
Hmm.
give, because we could be, some of us are better givers than receivers. And
Yeah.
then what happens if we're not a good receiver either is that it robs the other person of the ability to give.
You're really right, because I've had to learn that of, people saying thank you, and I'm have to go back and say you're welcome is very hard. Like I want to say thank you back to them. I'm so used to it. It's yeah, it's a step, and I'm like, what is so hard to saying you're welcome? Why is that so hard? And
Well,
why is
that's interesting wording that you just used, because I just read an article and I don't
I
recall
have
who.
a hard time using it?
You know what? Instead of saying you're welcome, use my pleasure.
I've done that a lot more too. Yeah, my
When you
pleasure.
say my pleasure,
It is my pleasure.
it is a
That's
pleasure.
exactly
And
your welcome sounds like. Thanks for walking over the mat.
exactly, exactly. So just I've been
I
using
like it's my pleasure because it is. It's like if I've done something, it's
exactly,
like, yeah, I wanted to.
and it
And then
feels
people say
good.
thank you. And I'm like, you bet. A lot of times I'm like, you bet. You bet. It's like, of course.
Right.
It's
My son-in-law always says, of course, when I thank him. He says, of course. And then sometimes I say, of course, and or my pleasure. I'm more off of the you're welcome part because,
yeah, it is weird. It's
yeah,
awkward. It
yeah.
goes with the shoulda.
Yes. Yeah.
You're welcome. Shoulda. No,
Right. Don't shoulda all over me. Don't should all over
mashouldahs. I
yourself.
got the mashouldahs.
Right. Got the
Uh-oh.
shouldas. Oh my God.
Uh-oh. There's no way we get through a podcast without getting like this at all.
That's right. Of
It's
course.
our pleasure. It is. It is
You.
our pleasure. Okay, so the other one, number 4, is take
Yeah.
a hope walk. Oh, and pick up litter. Ooh,
Mhm.
ooh.
I mean, how often do you take a walk and you see a piece of paper on the ground and you just leave it there? You know,
Not,
in
not,
fact,
not
I had a big lesson. There was a piece of lint in my apartment on the floor, and I was walking by it and I almost didn't pick it up. I walked past it. And then I thought to myself, if you don't pick it up, who's going to pick it up? There's nobody else that's going to pick that piece of lint up. So why wouldn't you go back and pick up the piece of lint to keep your house in impeccable order? So it's setting an
mm,
intention that you want to keep your environment as a sanctuary, keep your environment clean, keep your environment safe. And when I take a walk, sometimes I'll see a piece of paper and I'll pick it up. I don't know whose paper it is. I don't know why it was put there. Somebody threw it. Sometimes I don't, but it's good to set an intention to take a bag with you on the walk.
okay, so that's how we got through COVID. And this was so funny because everybody's freaked out about COVID, right? So do you want to touch anything or not? And we were at our friend's house, and it was a bed and breakfast kind of lodging establishment at that time for the military, but not a B&B anymore, but it used to be. And we used to live out there. We're right outside Joshua Tree National Park. And she had this vacant land, and in the desert, wind blows and everything ends up in this. And you've got plastic all tied in with cactus and diapers and anything. She had this beautiful piece of land, and we would wake up really early at the sunrise, and we would go out there, and every day was the morning. We would go take our walk and go pick up trash, and we had tongs because you need them and things. But we just got into this, like we did it, and then one day, like we almost finished this entire lot of land, and the wind came and gave us more, and then we're like, kind of like, oh god. And while we were doing this, it was around Easter time, and on Easter, and believe this or not, but it's true, the desert lilies bloomed on Easter, and they bloom every few years, and it has to be perfectly right, perfect condition of rain and sun and all of this. And on Easter, we went out picking up trash and found all these beautiful lilies.
Wow.
So when you talk about take a walk, pick up litter, we felt so good for the land. We saw how, we were taking things out that were poisoning, plastic and tires. Like there's, anyway, I don't want to get started on litter, but it was just like the desert thanked us because
Mm,
as we were going through spring, more flowers came. So every time we picked up trash, you could now actually see the flowers compared to the trash. So
wow,
yeah,
beautiful.
isn't that nice?
Yes, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
That is like, yeah, that was, people were all upset. And I'm like, about COVID and walking. I'm like, go pick up trash.
Exactly. Well, you know, that
I
whole
felt
year,
productive, you
right?
know?
That whole year, there was a great documentary about the year that the earth got healed.
Yeah,
And so many areas, no pollution, no
awesome.
anything.
Animals walking through the streets.
Animals, the whales could hear their
Hmm.
babies without cruise ships. Um,
Yeah,
tigers could hear their babies without safaris running up,
yeah.
up and down. I mean, it was an incredible documentary. I
We
think that,
saw roads where pull-offs, scenic highways pull off here, totally overgrown, no cars, like even over the what do you asphalt, I was gonna say
yeah,
tarmac.
yeah,
Even over that, grass had grown over like scenic views and everything, which was like, and I'm like, oh, we can't go there. I don't want to drive over it.
right.
Let it be. Let
Yes,
it be. There was
yes,
a
well,
lot of
that
let it
too.
be,
Yeah,
but I love your walking and you talk about walking with intention, um, like meditation, like prayer and meditation. So it's you're really kind of connected with your inner soul when you do it. Does doing an action help that?
well, doing a walking meditation in and of itself is an action that you're taking towards your higher self. And when you set an intention when you're walking in a walking meditation, I mean, sometimes you can listen to a real walking meditation where you're focusing
Hmm.
on yourself and your energy and the connection between where you are. And it makes it very productive. You feel very productive because you're doing something for yourself, with yourself, by yourself, that you don't need somebody else to feel fulfilled or
You're
feel
taking your
joy.
remote control.
You're taking your remote control for a walk.
That's it. Speed up, girl. Speed up. No,
There you go. There you go.
slow
Come on,
down.
let's go a little faster. Let's go a
Yeah,
little.
quick, quick. Push that one button and it'll pick up
Right,
trash.
right, right.
Picking up trash, I'm such an advocate for it. And you
Yeah,
think about Earth
yeah,
Days coming up in April. I mean, this is the month of, looking at our parks, like the national parks. I just please don't litter in the parks. They have a
yes.
staffing issue right now.
It's right. That's
So it's kind of be responsible about that. If we can take care of ourselves, it will really help.
aware of where you are. Be aware.
Mm,
I always say, look at where your feet are planted.
they're
Then you can
barefoot.
tell where you are. And wherever you are is where your feet have taken you.
Hmm.
Regard it. Have reverence for your life and for your environment and where you are.
Mm,
And when you
agreed.
have reverence for that, then you feel connected to nature and you feel connected to everything around you and you just feel better.
Well, you've taken my stress out for the day. I'm feeling good just talking about this.
I
It's like,
know.
well, I like the five
Congratulations.
steps because they're fun too.
Yeah.
The last one is the good deeds jar. Now, this is cool. I like this. Tell everyone about the good deeds
Yes.
jar.
Okay. So, first of all, one of the things that I don't think we do enough of is give ourselves credit for what we do.
Mm,
And so it's like if you make a to-do list, I don't know about you, but I make a to-do list sometimes. And then if I check off this, I check off that, I check off that, I'm looking at all the things that I still need to do on the to-do list instead of doing a happy dance or giving myself some kudos for actually accomplishing the things that I had on the to-do list.
mm,
So having a good deed jar is a way of acknowledging and validating yourself for doing a good deed for someone. Even if you're standing in line at the market and you smile and you say hello to somebody that you don't know in line or whatever the case may be, you never know. It's like the call that we talked about before. You never know how you're going to impact that person's life. And maybe they needed that upliftment. If you walk in life to uplift each other, you uplift everyone
Mhm.
around you in the best way that you can. That's a good deed in and of itself. If you're
Yeah.
helping someone across the street, that's a good deed. If you're
Let
giving,
somebody in the traffic, when you're at the grocery
right,
store, if someone only has one bottle of soda, let them in. Come on. You know,
exactly.
don't be the person with two shopping carts and not letting one person.
That's right. That's right. And
you
it
know,
feels good to do that.
oh, it does. It feels much better, So the good deed jar, well, I have a business friend who talks about that, and she says that in business, especially women, we get upset when like if someone gives you a negative review or anything, we get
Yeah.
all we just get all eh.
Yeah.
And she says, go in. She says that all entrepreneurs should do this, to have a section on your computer when someone emails to say thank you, that was such an awesome job, or really
Mhm.
love this, or you got a good testimonial. Put it in a list, print it out, do whatever you need to do with it. But when you're having one of those days where your brain, like someone will say, oh my gosh, I really love what you did for me, this was really awesome, and then someone will call them like 5 minutes later and say, oh, I think it sucks, that person gets the attention, not the positive, right?
Right.
So she says, get out the list and start reading all the positive things people have said about your work, and you'll realize you have a lot more of those than the person,
Uh-huh.
you know that it's a
Yeah,
good. I think it's kind of a cool idea to do. It's kind of like your good deeds jar, you know
exactly. Yeah, Brendan Bouchard, I studied with him for a while, and one of the things he said is that we have many, many more yeses than we do rejections.
mm.
We get one rejection, we focus on that one rejection and think that's who we are, or
It
maybe
drives you that
are.
becomes a stress thing.
Yeah,
Then it just keeps ning, ning, ning,
yeah,
ning,
yeah,
ning, ning. It's
yeah.
annoying. It
It is.
sounds like a smoke detector.
Right. Exactly.
What? I don't want the smoke detector to go off
No.
unless it's a necessity. You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
that is, why do we do that? That negative hormone thing.
Well, we're
Negative.
wired for impending
Yeah.
danger. So we do have that in us instinctually
Mm,
and instinctively. And what happens is we go to the negative first for
mm,
survival. But we we again rob ourselves of of a joy that
mm.
we could have had without the stress involved.
Yeah.
We almost
It's
place a value on stress more than we do joy, and we don't give ourselves permission to have joy.
when COVID, wasn't that also that big lesson of less is more?
Yeah,
When people started realizing, I've got all this, why do I need 10 cars? Why am
yeah,
I working this hard? Like, oh, I actually do like to hang out with my family and
yeah,
just, spend time in the garden with my kids,
yeah, yeah,
some
yeah,
of those basics. So
yeah.
very cool. Well, this is a good way to kick off spring
It
in
is.
April.
It's
Yeah,
spring, a spring into spring.
I'm into it. I'm in. I love spring. It's my favorite season.
Yeah, me too.
And then when summer comes, I'll tell you that's mine too. And winter, nah, I don't know. But everyone, again, ShellyWizen.com. Go to her website there and learn more about her coaching. She's got great books, and you can listen to her podcast from there, from previous ones, all that good stuff. And again, look in the episode notes for all the links. We talked about her article, and we've got all kinds of other good things in there too. So thank you so much, Shelly. You've made my day happy. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much too. And it's my pleasure always to talk with you, Lisa, because
It's my pleasure. It's all mine.
fine, fine. Now there's a new trend, I guess, is I love you. No, I love you more.
Oh, yeah, that's it. There's nothing wrong with that. Love is good.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, Shelly. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Soul Diving Sunday show featuring transformational life coach Shelly Wizen. Follow Shelly at ShellyWizen.com. Follow us at bigblendradio.com.